What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the decidedly debonair Dr. Disaster, and no matter how fun the game may be, Mario Kart World will forever have a bit of a stain attached to its name as the game that opened the floodgates and caused more expensive games to be the norm. There are at least a portion of gamers who will always blame Mario Kart World for the advent of the $80 games.
Just standing up for my rights as a consumer.
The thing is, in a world where Claire Obscure Expedition 33 can swoop on in to the video game industry and completely blow everyone away with a price tag of $50, and in fact, it was on sale for $45 for a while there, but in that world where Claire Obscure can accomplish so much for a price tag that is so small, or look at the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, which was also $50, or Split Fiction, which also cost $50, considering what these games have done, it just becomes really hard to justify dropping $80 for something that is likely nowhere near as enjoyable. Yes, the budget for these AAA games is going up, but whose fault is that? Gamers are not asking for these studios to animate every little blade of grass or every hair on a character's ass. They've put themselves in the position. These studios have done this to themselves, where $80 for a game is what it takes for them to survive.
I don't think we should exploit this. It could backfire.
The value proposition of AAA gaming just no longer makes sense. That seems to be the consensus now that the Xbox Games Showcase dropped yesterday, showcasing Outer Worlds 2, which comes out this October, and it looks like it is the first $80 game from Xbox. Borderlands 4 comes out a month earlier, and that game may end up being priced at $80 as well, but Outer Worlds 2 is the first one announced at that price point, and the excitement level from gamers toward Xbox is illustrated by this.
You rotten son of a bitch.
What is particularly ridiculous about Outer Worlds 2 doing this price hike, though, is the fact that everyone remembers the buggy launch of the first game. Everyone remembers the problems that they had, and to top it off, Obsidian as a studio has been at odds with gamers lately, launching themselves right into the culture war during the lead up to the release of Avowed. Outer Worlds 2 is one of those games that absolutely should have aimed for a $50 release to combat the negativity that a lot of people had with the first game. But at $80, well, I think most people are thinking,
no thanks, bro.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, don't forget to follow me over on X, where I keep a list of games lousy with wokeness pinned to the account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. Also, I have started uploading content onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that platform too. But anyhow, let's look at this situation where Obsidian is asking $80 for Outer Worlds 2. So, let me just start this analysis off by pointing out Doom the Dark Ages was, by most accounts, a pretty solid game. But at $70, the game wasn't even $80, but at $70, people didn't see enough value in the game, and it didn't sell very well. Everyone, even the game journalist crowd, acknowledged the fact that this game didn't have a very good launch despite the pedigree of the franchise that it comes from. So with that in mind, we are going to use the game Doom the Dark Ages as the baseline with which to make our comparison for Outer Worlds. Doom was, of course, released on Game Pass on day one, just like Outer Worlds 2 will be, and it had a few million players playing it on that platform, which Bethesda made a big deal out of. And let's just get this out of the way right now. When Outer Worlds 2 comes out this fall, they will surely be able to boast that they have 40 trillion players on Game Pass. Never mind the fact that the number of subscribers to that service is a tiny fraction of that. Never mind the fact that the number of human beings alive is only a tiny fraction of that number. Outer Worlds 2 will surely have somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 trillion players, and the game journalists will tout this number as if it is the same thing as sales. They did that with Avowed this past February. They did that with Assassin's Creed Shadows in March when that was available on Ubisoft Plus. Let's just get this out of the way right now. Outer Worlds 2 will have 40 trillion players, making it a success in the eyes of game journos. But will it be a success in the eyes of the accountants who work for these companies? That's the question. Will they make back the money that they spent to develop Outer Worlds 2? The budget for Avowed was reportedly somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million, meaning they needed to sell a few million copies at full price in order to just break even. But according to VG Analytics, Avowed has sold less than 300,000 on the Steam platform, and over on Xbox, the speculation is that they have sold even fewer copies. So they are a long way off on profitability from a pure sales perspective on Avowed. However, if you ask the chuckleheads at Obsidian, they will tell you how happy they are with the sales for Avowed. But of course, they were going to say that all along. They would never admit failure, but in terms of pure sales, the game was, in fact, a massive flop. However, I think one of the big disconnects between those of us measuring the success of Avowed in a more traditional and rational way and the mindset of people working for Xbox is the fact that they are trying to herd all of us into their subscription service. Anything that gets people to subscribe to Game Pass is considered a success to them, which is why Xbox was so keen to jump on this new $80 price tag on these games. Nintendo just delivered Microsoft a gift by being the first studio to raise prices. Xbox can do the same thing with their games now, which I promise they were already considering doing, and they don't even look that greedy for doing it. And the end result is going to be people subscribing to Game Pass to play these titles and essentially rent games like Outer Worlds 2 for $12 instead of paying the $80. Here's their gambit, because of course a lot of people like me, for example, I don't have Game Pass, I never will get Game Pass, but there are people out there who are similar to me who would potentially go out, subscribe to it for a month or so, play the game that you wanted to play, and then you drop it after a month or so. They think, though, that they can get people to subscribe to Game Pass to play a new game, and they assume that you will play something for a month or two, and if they release enough new games on the platform, throwing shit at a wall, so to speak, they think they'll be able to keep your subscription going. And once they have you on the hook, they think you'll never go back to actually owning your games, because they've made them too expensive for the average person. At this point, Xbox believes they will have you by the balls, and then they can raise prices and start dumping advertisements onto Game Pass, just like Netflix does, and Disney Plus, and all of those subscription services, and they think that you will just keep on paying it. This, though, is why they despise what a studio like Sandfall did with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It undermines the higher game price and push for subscriptions to Game Pass, despite having been on the platform, because Expedition 33 shows what a studio can do with a AA budget. And it simultaneously blows up this narrative that a game releasing on Game Pass can't sell well, because Clair Obscur has now sold multiple millions in just a few short months. This is why we have seen some anti-clair-obscur narratives pop up into the mainstream media in recent weeks. The powers that be do not like the idea that they are being shown up by this small studio. They did the same sort of thing, though much more aggressively, with Black Myth Wukong last year. They don't want people to see the distinction between overpriced slop from Obsidian and the gems being made by studios who actually give a shit and put some effort into making fun games. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you think about Outer Worlds 2 for $80? Are you planning on grabbing it, playing it on Game Pass, or telling these people to eat shit? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.